All right, let's dive deep into some of the fastest winds ever recorded.
Yeah.
You know, when we talk about extreme weather, we
Mhm.
often think about heat waves or floods, but wind the invisible force. That's like a whole other
Oh,
level
absolutely.
of awe-inspiring and terrifying.
It really is.
Wouldn't you say?
Yes.
We got a stack of your research here, and we're going to really explore just how powerful wind can get,
Okay.
comparing it to other forces
Right.
and just seeing like what creates these gale force monsters.
Well, what's interesting is that we're not just talking about strong gusts here.
Right.
We're talking about speeds that can reshape landscapes,
Wow.
turn trees into projectiles, and literally sand down mountains over time.
And I think a lot of people have like a morbid curiosity about tornadoes.
Sure.
What's the strongest wind speed ever recorded in one of those?
Well, the estimated top speed inside a tornado, over 300 miles per hour.
Wow.
To put that in perspective,
Yeah.
a cheetah, the fastest land animal,
Right.
it only reach about 70 miles an hour.
Wow. So that's almost like 5 cheetahs worth of speed.
It is.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
But I've also read that it's like incredibly difficult to directly measure those wind speeds inside a tornado.
Yeah.
How do scientists even come up with those figures?
Well, you're right. It's just too dangerous to get instruments right in the path of a tornado.
Of course, of course.
So we have to rely on Doppler radar,
Okay.
similar to how a police officer's radar gun works, bouncing a signal off a moving object to calculate its speed.
Right.
With tornadoes, the radar is analyzing the movement of debris and precipitation within the funnel.
It's amazing that we can get those kinds of readings from afar.
It is.
Okay, so tornadoes are obviously up there.
Yeah.
But what about wind speeds we've actually been able to measure directly?
Yeah.
What holds the official record?
That honor goes to Tropical Cyclone Olivia, which hit Barrow Island off the coast of Australia back in 1996.
Okay.
They recorded a sustained gust of 253 miles per hour on an oil platform. Imagine the force needed to make that measurement,
It's incredible.
and the fact that the platform itself survived.
Yeah, it makes you wonder how they even like managed to collect that data.
Right.
I mean, did anyone actually witness that 253 mile per hour gust?
I wouldn't want to be holding the anemometer at that moment.
No, I can imagine.
But speaking of anemometers,
Yeah.
our next contender,
Okay.
Typhoon Paca, actually destroyed the instrument,
Oh,
measuring its wind speed.
really?
It ripped through Guam in 1997.
Hmm.
And while the official sustained gust was clocked at 236 miles an hour before the anemometer gave out,
Yeah.
it's safe to say the actual peak wind speed was probably even higher.
So even the tools we use to measure these winds
Yeah.
can get completely overwhelmed.
They can.
That really highlights the raw power we're talking about here.
It does.
Now, I know you can't attribute any specific weather event to climate change,
Right.
but do you think we'll start to see these records broken more often as the planet warms?
Well, it's a complex question.
Sure.
But many scientists believe that rising global temperatures could contribute to more intense cyclones
Right.
and possibly even higher wind speeds in the future.
That's a sobering thought.
It is.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit.
Okay.
I know a lot of folks associate extreme winds with hurricanes.
Yeah.
And you mentioned Hurricane Patricia earlier.
Right.
The strongest hurricane ever recorded in the Western Hemisphere.
It was.
What made that particular storm so powerful?
Hurricane Patricia was a textbook case of rapid intensification.
Oh, wow.
In just 30 hours, it went from a tropical storm to a Category 5 hurricane, the highest classification.
Wow.
This was largely due to exceptionally low air pressure at the storm center,
Okay.
which acted like a giant vacuum, sucking in air from all directions
Right.
and creating those incredible wind speeds of 215 miles per hour.
It's fascinating how, like, such seemingly subtle differences in pressure
Right.
can create such vastly different outcomes.
It really is.
Okay, so we've covered tornadoes and tropical cyclones. What other contenders are there in this race for the fastest winds on Earth?
Well, believe it or not, one record-breaking wind speed wasn't measured during a hurricane or tornado.
Oh, okay.
It happened right here in the United States on Mount Washington in New Hampshire.
Mount Washington. I actually climbed that mountain a few years ago.
Oh, wow.
It's known for being pretty windy, but I wouldn't have guessed it could compete with hurricanes.
Right.
What happened there?
Back in 1934, the Mount Washington Observatory recorded a sustained wind speed of 231 miles per hour,
Wow.
which stood as a world record for decades.
That's incredible.
It's a great example of how mountain topography can actually create some of the most extreme wind conditions.
Okay.
Think of it like the Venturi effect you see in engineering.
Okay.
As air is forced through narrow mountain passes and up steep slopes,
Uh-huh.
it accelerates dramatically.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
It makes sense. Nature has its own extreme versions of the wind tunnels that engineers use
Exactly.
to test designs. So even without the swirling vortex of a tornado or a hurricane,
Right.
mountains can produce these incredible wind speeds.
Exactly.
And then there are a few other powerful cyclones worth mentioning.
Okay.
Tropical Cyclone Pam, which devastated Vanuatu in 2015, had winds of 220 miles per hour.
Wow.
Hurricane Allen, which impacted the Caribbean and Mexico in 1980,
Huh.
had winds of 190 miles per hour.
Right.
And Tropical Cyclone Winston, which struck Fiji in 2016, had winds of 185 miles per hour.
Right.
These storms all caused significant damage
Yeah.
and highlight how these kinds of events can impact all corners of the globe.
Absolutely.
It's interesting how those speeds all cluster around like the 185 to 220 mile per hour mark.
Yeah.
Is there some kind of upper limit
Yeah. Good question.
to how fast winds can get in a hurricane or cyclone?
Well, there's definitely a complex interplay of factors at work,
Yeah.
including ocean temperatures,
Right.
atmospheric pressure, and even the Earth's rotation.
Oh, wow.
Scientists are still working to understand exactly how these factors combine
Yeah.
to create these monster storms.
Right.
But it seems like there might be a natural limit
Okay.
to how much energy they can harness.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm curious, though, have there been any storms where we suspect the winds might have been even higher
Yeah.
than what we were able to measure?
Hurricane Camille, which slammed into the U.S. Gulf Coast in 1969,
Oh, right.
is a prime example.
Okay.
While the official records are incomplete because the anemometers were destroyed,
Oh, wow.
reconnaissance flights estimated the maximum sustained winds to be around 190 miles per hour.
Hurricane Camille is a stark reminder that the devastation from these storms goes far beyond just wind speed.
It does.
The flooding and storm surge associated with Camille were catastrophic.
They were.
But speaking of hidden dangers,
Okay.
I understand there's a type of extreme wind that's particularly dangerous for aircraft,
Yes,
even though it doesn't get as much attention as hurricanes or tornadoes.
that's right.
You're thinking of wind shear?
Yes, wind shear.
It might not have the same widespread impact as a hurricane,
Right.
but it can be just as deadly.
Absolutely, especially during takeoff and landing.
Yeah, I read that wind shear is basically a sudden shift in wind speed or direction over a short distance.
That's right.
It's like hitting an invisible wall of wind while you're flying, right?
That's a great way to visualize it.
Yeah.
Imagine an airplane encountering a sudden 175 mile per hour gust.
Oh, wow.
It can be incredibly disorienting for pilots
Yeah.
and can put tremendous stress on the aircraft.
And what makes wind shear even scarier is that it can occur with little warning.
Absolutely.
All right.
It's often associated with thunderstorms
Uh-huh.
and other unstable weather conditions.
Okay.
Pilots are highly trained to recognize and avoid wind shear,
Right.
but it remains a significant hazard in aviation.
It's a good reminder that extreme winds can take many forms,
It is.
each with its own unique set of dangers.
Yes, from tornadoes to cyclones to
Hmm.
wind shear. These invisible forces of nature demand our respect.
Yeah.
They remind us that even with all our technology, we're still vulnerable to the power of the wind.
Absolutely. It's incredible to think about all these different ways that extreme winds can manifest.
Yeah.
From the swirling chaos of a tornado to like the invisible danger of wind shear.
Right.
But I'm noticing a pattern here.
Oh, yeah?
A lot of the highest wind speeds we've discussed
Uh-huh.
happened over water.
You're right. Oceans play a crucial role
Right.
in the formation and intensification
Yeah.
of some of the most powerful storms on Earth.
I mean, it makes sense when you think about hurricanes and typhoons.
Yeah.
Those form over warm ocean water, right?
Exactly. Warm ocean water acts as fuel for these storms.
Okay.
As the water evaporates,
Mm-hmm.
it rises and cools, forming clouds and releasing heat.
Okay.
This heat further warms the surrounding air, creating a cycle of rising air and condensation that drives the storm's circulation.
So it's almost like the ocean is giving the storm a constant energy boost.
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
Yeah.
And it's not just the presence of warm water that matters.
Right.
It's also the vast open expanse of the ocean
Mm-hmm.
that allows these storms to grow unimpeded.
I see. So unlike storms that form over land,
Right.
which can be disrupted by mountains or other terrain,
Exactly.
hurricanes and typhoons have this huge open space to really build up strength.
Precisely. And when those storms eventually make landfall,
Right.
they can unleash those incredible winds,
Right.
often with devastating consequences.
That's why coastal areas are often the hardest hit during hurricane season.
Absolutely.
But I'm curious, we talked about Mount Washington earlier and
Right.
how its unique topography created those record-breaking winds.
Uh-huh.
Are there other land features that can influence wind speeds in a similar way?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Mountains, valleys, and canyons can all create conditions that either accelerate or decelerate wind.
Oh, okay.
Think about how air flows through a tunnel.
Yeah.
It speeds up in the narrowest sections. The same principle applies to wind flowing through mountain passes or valleys.
So even without a hurricane or tornado, certain geographical features can act like natural wind tunnels,
Exactly.
concentrating and amplifying wind speeds.
That's right. And then, of course, we have the wild card of tornadoes,
Right.
which can seemingly pop up anywhere.
Yeah, tornadoes are notorious for their unpredictability.
They are.
But shifting focus from the causes to the effects,
Yeah,
it's mind-boggling to think about the destructive potential of these extreme winds.
it certainly is.
While we've been focusing on the wind speeds themselves,
Yeah.
it's crucial to remember that the real danger lies in the impact those winds have on the environment and on human structures.
That's right. You're right.
It's not just about how fast the wind is blowing.
Right.
It's about what that wind can do.
Exactly.
I mean, these winds can uproot trees, demolish buildings,
Yeah.
turn everyday objects into deadly projectiles.
Right. A small piece of debris
Yeah.
caught in a 200-mile-per-hour wind can become a lethal weapon.
It's a stark reminder of why it's so important to heed warnings
Yes.
and take shelter when extreme winds are expected.
Absolutely. Respecting the power of nature
Right.
and understanding the potential consequences of these events is crucial for safety.
It makes you realize how vulnerable we are to these forces,
Yeah.
even with all our technology and advancements.
Very true. We can study these events, we
Yeah.
can try to predict them,
Yeah.
but ultimately we have to be prepared to weather the storm,
Right.
so to speak.
Speaking of weathering the storm,
Uh-huh.
I keep coming back to the role of climate change in all of this.
Sure.
We can't say for sure that climate change is causing any specific wind event,
Right.
but is it possible that it's contributing to an overall trend of increasing wind speeds?
It's a question that's at the forefront of climate science research.
Okay.
While it's complex and there's still much to learn,
Yeah.
many studies suggest that a warming planet could lead to more intense and frequent extreme weather events,
Right.
including those with higher wind speeds.
So even if we can't draw a direct line between climate change and any particular storm,
Right.
it's a factor we can't ignore when looking at the bigger picture.
Precisely. It's all interconnected.
Yeah.
As global temperatures rise, we're likely to see shifts in weather patterns
Right.
and potentially an increase in the intensity and frequency of these extreme wind events.
It's a sobering thought, but I have to admit,
Yeah.
as terrifying as these forces can be, there's also something incredibly awe-inspiring about them.
I agree. These wind phenomena are a testament to the incredible power of our planet.
Yeah.
They remind us that we're part of something much grander than ourselves.
It's true.
Yeah.
There's a certain beauty in their raw power,
Yeah.
even amidst the potential for destruction.
Uh-huh.
They challenge us to understand them better.
Yes.
Not just to protect ourselves,
Right.
but also to appreciate their role in shaping our world.
That's a wonderful way to put it.
Yeah.
It's about finding that balance between respecting their power and seeking to comprehend their complexities.
Right.
And that pursuit of understanding is what drives scientific exploration
Right.
and fuels our fascination with the natural world.
Wow, it feels like we've just taken this incredible journey across the globe,
It really does.
chasing the most extreme winds on Earth,
Yeah.
from the heart of Tornado Alley
Right.
to the peak of Mount Washington to like a remote oil platform in the middle of a cyclone.
It's been quite a ride.
It's been quite a ride.
It really highlights the sheer variety of ways that nature can produce these incredible forces.
Yeah.
And, the fact that we're still discovering new things about them all the time just makes it even more fascinating.
You know, it's one thing to read about these wind speeds,
Right.
but it's another thing to try to really grasp what, like 253 miles per hour?
Yeah.
Or even 300 miles per hour.
Yeah.
Actually feels like
It's hard to imagine.
it's hard to even imagine.
These
that.
speeds are so far beyond our everyday experience
Yeah.
that it's almost impossible to comprehend
Right.
the sheer force and energy involved.
Right.
It
Yeah.
really puts into perspective
Yeah.
the power of the natural world.
I've been wondering if you could somehow experience these winds safely, would you want to?
Oh.
To actually stand in the path of a 200-mile-per-hour gust
Ah.
and feel that raw power firsthand.
That's a fascinating question.
Yeah.
Part of me is drawn to that idea,
Yeah.
to experience something so far outside the realm of like human capability.
All right.
But honestly, I think it would be absolutely terrifying. I mean, the noise alone would be just overwhelming.
Yeah.
And the force of the wind pressing against you
Right.
is almost unimaginable.
I know what you mean. It would be a sensory overload for sure.
It would.
But there's also like a part of me that's incredibly curious
Yeah.
to witness the raw power of nature up close.
Yeah.
You know, to feel the energy of those winds swirling around you.
It would certainly be a humbling experience.
Wow.
To stand in the presence of such force
Yeah.
and realize just how small and insignificant we are
Right.
in the grand scheme of things.
It makes you think about all those stories of people who've survived extreme wind events.
It does.
Their stories are a testament to human resilience,
They are.
but they also serve as a stark reminder of the destructive power of these forces.
Absolutely. And while we've made great strides in predicting and preparing for these events,
Right.
there's always more to learn
Of course.
as our climate continues to change.
Right.
Understanding these extreme winds becomes even more crucial.
Well, on that note, I want to thank you for taking this deep dive with us into the teeth of the gale.
It's been a pleasure.
We've explored the fastest winds ever recorded,
We have.
from tornadoes to typhoons and everything in between.
That's right.
We've looked at the science behind these powerful forces,
Yeah.
their devastating effects,
Uh-huh.
and the ongoing efforts to understand and predict them. And we've even dared to imagine what it would be like to experience those winds firsthand.
We have.
So to our listener,
Yes.
we hope this deep dive has left you with a sense of awe at the power of nature
I hope so.
and a renewed appreciation for the delicate balance of our planet.
It is a delicate balance.
Keep exploring,
Yeah.
keep asking questions,
Please do.
and always remember to respect the power of the wind.
Absolutely.